Was
That's
that
my
Jimmy?
guess.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm making a racket.
I guess after. Okay, it's 5 o'clock. We'll call the Clewiston City Commission meeting to order. This is Monday, August 21st, 2023 at 5 p.m. You would stand and join me in a prayer and in the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for this time together. Lord, as a council, we just seek your wisdom, your advice. Lord, you're leading tonight into every decision that's made. We thank you just for the well-being of this city, and we ask you to bless not only the city, but the citizens and those that make it up. And we just give you the honor and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Manager, are there any changes or deletions to the agenda?
No, just had a couple of handouts that were there during the workshop. Make sure they don't get mixed in. One of them was the golf course monthly report on usage, and then the other one was manager's report on legislative funding request that we'll get to later on the agenda. But no changes otherwise, Mayor.
All right. Okay, at this time, we will have public comments. If anyone from the audience would like to speak on any matter, you're more than welcome to at this time. Now, if it's an agenda item, you may speak at the agenda item when we come to it. But if not, any other public comments? Yes, if you come to the microphone and just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Yaima Lugo. Sorry, first time I'm here.
Okay.
I'm the owner at a food truck here in Clewiston. I'm a cook. I moved here 2 years ago and started a business as a food truck. And then after that, I realized food trucks are not allowed here in Clewiston. First question, nobody can answer that question. Why? Why are food trucks not allowed in Clewiston? We have enough space. It's not like New York. And all the cities around me allows food truck. Belgrade, Okeechobee, Immokalee, LaBelle. And plus, we don't have enough place to go eat here, especially during the season that so many people came to this town. And I think we have enough restaurants, but why not go eat something at the street? A lot of people like my food, and we can't work. That's what I do to support my family.
Right.
This is not like I move here and I can go rent a restaurant. Ain't no place for rent here. So came here to ask if there is any possibility we can change that. I started a petition in change.org, and I have 192 signatures from the people here in town. I also have some comments, and everybody agree. Why not? Why we can't have food trucks? Why you can't tomorrow just say, I might eat some Mexican food at the food truck, or ribs, or whatever. It's not just for me. It's like I see many food trucks parked at the garage right now. And I swear that's what they do to support their family. So what are that people doing right now if they buy a $60,000 food truck and they can't use it just because the city doesn't allow food trucks? It doesn't make sense at all.
Well, number one, did you bring a sample of the food tonight? No. It sounds like it's very good.
I wish, but I'm not working.
No, I know, yeah, you can't cook, right?
I can't.
That's a great question, and I would have to defer I don't know if we can answer your question tonight, but we would have to look at our ordinance and see what is and is not allowed.
I can give some feedback.
Okay.
Because code enforcement officer alerted me that we may have an attendee tonight, and she and I discussed it. First of all, the attorney shared with the commission. Well, back up. First thing, we don't prohibit food trucks. We limit when and how they can be in town and operate. And we do have a provision that allows it through nonprofits, as the commission's well aware of, and we have a few occasionally, but it is not open doors. I will acknowledge that, obviously. The legislature.
Can I add, when we had the events, I think on Monday nights
Yes.
in the city park, and
City
we would allow
sponsored.
them on Monday nights to come and
Yep.
park. That was a one night a week event open to the community.
Yeah.
But we haven't had those since the
We haven't had those since the pandemic, you're right, and we could revisit that. We haven't had any discussion with the commission on that, but that is an option that can be looked at. Fast more recently, the attorney has shared with you an update of legislative changes that are impactful in this area. And with that in mind, I'll defer to Dylan to the extent he wants to comment tonight, but he has prepared some information for staff and I to review and present to the commission in a workshop format. That's what we would recommend to implement changes that are necessitated by the new statute changes that he shared with you at a recent meeting. So if you want to comment to some extent related to the comments tonight and
Absolutely.
to the mayor and commission.
So this is not the first time this has come up. It's been a topic of conversation in recent history. Our current ordinance is fairly old. It's been a while since it's been looked at. Recently, the legislature passed a preemption relating to food truck licensing. So what that means is local governments can no longer have licensing restrictions on food trucks outside of what the state agency already requires. Meaning we can't require them to obtain a city license to operate. However, we can still limit the location and hours and things like that. So again, it's I would ask for direction from the commission if there are thoughts on it, if there are changes that are requested to the code. As long as we have that input, we can. If there's a need or a want or desire to update that ordinance, we can talk about moving forward. And I suggest maybe we have a workshop on that in the future to maybe come up with some ideas for what we want to see.
Brian, I think she mentioned some communities, and I know that the LaBelle just maybe last month changed their food truck ordinance on times, because like Monday nights here in Clewiston, a lot of the restaurants are closed, or on Tuesday nights they're closed. So those are some things that I think we should look at in a workshop and see. I think in the past, we also had, restaurants who have businesses that pay taxes and employ, and pay wages. They're concerned that they were going to have business be taken away from them, and I think what we found out is that their businesses increased. The ones that were open on a Monday night, their businesses increased because more people came out to see what was available, if I remember the conversation correctly, with one of the restaurant owners. Mm-hmm. So I think it's something that we should look at. And I was hoping that we'd get back to Monday night, events in our city parks where food trucks could come back to it. I mean, that's something that we had wanted to get back to this past year. We just haven't. That's my opinion. So I think a workshop would be appropriate.
I think we're overdue on reconsidering this, updating it, and in my view, we need to look into it, get your input, and move forward. We can get a consensus here.
If you could leave us your contact information too. You may already have it with Debbie, but
You could put your name and phone number on that survey, and maybe the city manager can have the survey. You mind sharing that with him?
Competition?
Okay.
Sure.
And put your name.
This is another thing I wanted to talk about that you said about the taxes and employees and all that, because I hear that on the street already. And okay, I'm working in a 2x4 food truck. It's hot. I do have employees. I do have to pay more for the products I'm using because I don't have storage. So I don't have any advantage with the restaurant. They have air conditioning, they have better position, they have parking. I do pay rent to park my food truck in a commercial property, and it's not cheap. It's
Right.
expensive too. And even when I pay all that too, I try to do the best I can and make my food affordable for the people. And so I don't have an advantage with the restaurants. Like they got them on, and I have my stuff. Like I have my food, and it's like if I cook better or you cook better, or maybe today I decide to go to a restaurant with my family, but tomorrow I just want to grab and go some tacos at the food truck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you just stay tuned, and if you could leave your information with us, we'll be sure to keep you advised of the progress as we schedule this for the further discussion.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Okay, anyone else for public comments? Please state your name and your.
Hi, my name is Rocio Salama. I am the owner of Yak Quick Stop in 1020 WC Owens, and I am going to let my son to have my representation because I don't speak very good English. Then, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, how you doing? So we've been in this town for over 20 years, and picking up where she left off regarding the food trucks. We have the commercial space for it. So it's not like we're telling you guys to roll back the ordinance so anybody can open up a food truck anywhere. Location matters. So commercial location. I've been looking at what the other cities have been requiring. So parking space is important, and access to a bathroom. That's also important. And we do have the commercial space for her. So, we would like to have her the opportunity to set up in a fixed location so she's able to open up the food truck.
Are you right next to the school?
Yes, next to the school. And then, all the railroad guys and the people that work at the sugar mill, they all have the same complaint. By the time their lunch break comes around and they get it, they have to walk to a parking lot and go uptown, their lunch break is over. So, like she said, she has a petition going, and that's most of the people that have signed the petition. And, it's about time we get some change,
What was your name, sir?
My name's Omar. Call me Omar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you mind putting your number on that piece of paper?
Yes.
That way, when we have the workshop,
Yes.
city manager can look at that.
And you charge rent?
So,
Charge the food truck rent?
so right now she's leasing the building next to me. She's opening up an ice cream shop soon.
Okay.
And she has a health department coming out tomorrow. There's gonna be a new spot in Clewiston, an ice cream shop. And the food truck thing it's been parked there, closed, and everybody keeps asking why isn't it open?
Right.
Like going uptown, you only have a handful of restaurants, and they get packed, and you have nowhere else to go. Okay, I'm gonna put my number here.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Omar.
I believe there is a process that you can open it up now. You just have to make a donation to a 501(c). Is that right, Randy?
Well, there is a process, yeah, and that's one of the particulars.
Yeah, what I was hoping more something where it's a fixed location and
That's just
business
fix
partner
for
tax.
like now.
Yeah,
The process we're talking about will take a little bit.
yeah.
But if you want it open up today, there is a process.
Yeah, so we can get the ball rolling.
So when do you know about the estimated time for the ice cream shop to be open? Is there?
Yeah,
Probably on inspection tomorrow.
Good spot for it too.
That's great news. Thank you.
Good.
That's where the old engineering firm was, right?
Yeah, where Tom used to be at. Yeah. So the other issue I wanted to bring up is
Well, that property that I recently bought, the commercial property, is at 1012. We bought that property, and after the survey was done, we saw that the neighbor's fence was over the property line, and there's some trees there. And I already talked to utilities about it. I've talked to, I think it was Hope and Deborah. I don't know if she's here today.
Deborah.
Oh, hi. First time I meet her. We always talk over the phone. So I've talked to them about it, and they say they can't really do anything about it, that the property owner has to deal with it. But, we just bought the property, and I guess the old owner didn't want to deal with it. So I'm dealing with it now. And then the neighbors are avoiding us. But, if a storm, God forbid, came and those trees went down, the neighbor's house is going to go, the sewer line is going to go, the power lines are going to go, and it's right on the same block as the school. And last time that happened, one post went down. We were out of power for 5 days.
Is that a civil issue, Debbie, or is that ours? Civil?
Is there not an easement there, Danny?
Yeah, so those people put up that fence. I'm pretty sure they didn't have a permit for it. And we wanted to see if there was any kind of warning or anything the city can do for us.
Well, you can talk to the chief after the meeting, or Travis might can help you with some of the building rules, and Debbie can even help you with. But you're right. It's your issue and the neighbor's issue, and
and we wanted to deal with that now, because if the sewer line goes and the power goes, then it's gonna be a headache to get it fixed. Yeah.
But
If there's 2 people here that can get it fixed, or 3 people, they're here tonight.
Okay. All right.
Private property, it's most likely a civil issue.
Civil issue. Okay.
yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, but thank you for
your
coming
time
and sharing that.
And it's my first time here, so you might see me more in the future.
All right, good.
That's what these meetings are for.
Yeah, good. Look forward to seeing you, Amada.
Yeah, because when we had called about the food trucks, they say the main thing is nobody ever shows up to these meetings. So
Next time you got to make your dad come with you.
yeah, or somebody has to be at the store.
Now you have to bring ice cream also.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comments? You good?
I mean, I just.
Well, I'll give you, you get 3 minutes.
I know. I'm gonna just listen today.
Okay.
Okay.
But I know you're not making a public comment, but I know that we have a workshop that the attorney and the city manager is working on, some concerns that were brought to our attention. Do we have a date already for that workshop?
No, I don't. Not tonight, but we'll get it to you soon.
Okay. All right.
It is a concern and is on the radar.
And we asked for a workshop that it can be discussed. From people in the community, the commission, the attorney giving us, his opinion, the city manager and city staff with their information. So I would hope that we're getting through the budget cycle right now, but I would hope soon, very soon we have a workshop, because it is an impact to the community.
And just for the public that is listening, it's related to arcades.
Gaming.
So communities where gaming centers and so on.
I don't care what.
That'll be the primary focus of the workshop, but obviously that's a criminal potentially matter that the police can comment on further.
Can we just be notified when the meeting?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think we have your contact, but feel free to put your number on there, and we'll definitely
But we do encourage you and any other business that's experiencing issues on their property, their location, communicate those issues with the police department so they can respond. And I know you have been, but that's more for others.
You have them on speed dial, so.
That's more for others.
And keep calling, because we need those records.
Yes.
I mean, I know you get tired of calling, but please keep calling.
But any of the other businesses as well, and in any other locations in town as well.
We have like massive.
think that's what the workshop's for, so that we can really look at this in depth and see what we can do.
Of course, just one final comment. Many of the issues that we deal with are public issues, but like the last example, some of them are civil, and the parking amongst occupants of a particular strip center or whatever business center have obviously a great deal of control and potential responsibility in those matters. The city will deal with it from a regulatory standpoint, but we're not there to referee who gets which parking space.
That's the property owner's responsibility.
That's right.
Okay.
So just to be clear, we're going to ask Dylan he's already on the arcade deal, but with the food trucks, to just begin to research that a little to see what other cities are allowing, like he said, where they could be parked with enough parking, with maybe about whatever we need to do. If you'll bring that, you and Randy get together and then bring that to the commission if that's our consensus.
He's given some information to the staff, and we're in the process of reviewing that, and we'll be glad to summarize it and get it out to you folks too.
We're ready to go.
It's disappointing to this legislature to keep picking away at home rule.
Oh yeah,
over and over and
every
over,
year.
tying city's hands from governing ourselves.
Dylan, I'm sorry, you're ready to go on the arcade discussion?
Yes.
Okay, and on the food trucks, you're going to research it and get.
I've been working on that a
Okay.
bit too, so I'm
All
ready
right.
to have that conversation. We can
All right.
calendar. We'll be ready to go.
Okay, well, Randy, we got to. It sounds like we got to. We need a date.
Yes, ma'am. As soon as we get a budget closer, I think we can fill in the calendar. But I would suggest it'd probably be in October, early October, hopefully.
Okay,
I think it could be in September. I think it's something that we need to, especially the first topic, which has to do with the arcades. I think if we can somehow, 9/14 is our date for the 9/18 is the final one. Even we got 2 weeks left.
Well,
a week
even
and
the
a half
first
left.
reading is typically a pretty swift deal.
Yeah.
I don't
On
think
the
any of
14th,
those.
you're talking. No, I'm sorry. On the
I think we
12th.
need to have a workshop before you have any reading.
No, he's talking about the meeting on the 12th, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about, yes, September the 12th, we have the meeting. No, the 7th, we have a meeting. The 12th, we have a meeting. And the 18th, we have the final. So I just think that there's time before month end, especially that last week of the 25th.
Well, there's 1 week after that, and we certainly can look at that as an option. It's that last week in September.
Or the 19th through the 22nd.
If we hadn't worn out our welcome with you folks, because we're meeting a
I think
bunch.
it needs to be addressed.
Well, it certainly does, but it's not. I will say this: it's not one that's going to be a slam dunk overnight.
No, that's why I think we need to get
it's-
it started. And after the 19th, I think we've got plenty of dates there before October to look at. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
If you'll poll everyone, Randy.
Yes, sir.
Maybe this coming week we can. I agree. I think we can do it in September. A lot of the reading of the final budget hearing and things like even the first budget hearing typically goes very, very fast. Usually, both those meetings aren't very long, so we could do a workshop maybe.
Dylan's ready, and that's what we'll need is the legal advice. So.
Sure. To have a first discussion, I think that's certainly doing it in September. We'll come up with dates.
Thank you, sir.
All right, no more public comments. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move that we approve. Second.
Motion by Gardner, second by Highslope. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah,
Okay, next we have Mr. Wade Sansberry with our financial audit presentation.
Yeah, while he's coming up, I wanted Sherry to maybe make a comment on the audit point at some point, maybe even introduce Wade, if you don't mind, Sherry, in his role with the auditing firm. Since I believe this is the first time he's been before you, he's not filling in. We're very fortunate to have someone of his caliber with the agency here tonight, so we appreciate you being here, Wade, and your patience.
Sherry Howell, Finance. Yes, so tonight Mr. Sansberry is presenting our 2022 audit for the year ended September 30th, 2022. Our audit firm that we that performs our audits is Malden and Jenkins. And Mr. Sansberry, Wade Sansberry, is a partner from Malden and Jenkins.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for allowing me to be here with you all tonight. And also thanks so much for allowing Malden and Jenkins to serve the city of Clewiston. I've got a brief presentation, just going to hit some highlights tonight. If y'all have any questions at any point in time, just feel free to jump right on in. And if you have anything at the end, obviously I'll try to answer those as well. First and foremost, the statements themselves. This document, mine's just printed out. You all have a bound, prettier copy. It's a pretty long, complex document. If you don't look at anything else or read anything else within the financial statements, I do always recommend that you read the MD&A. This is the management's discussion and analysis. The statements themselves are not comparative, but the MD&A is, and it's written from the city's point of view to help you, give you a little bit of understanding and background of why things went up or why things went down. So again, I always recommend that you read the MD&A. This year, the opinion is going to look a little different than it has in the past. There were some auditing standards that changed that required us to update this year's opinion. But based on our audit, we issued you all a unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. This is what you all wish to receive each and every year. So that really has not changed. All in all, it was a good overall year. You increased your net position by about 5.6 million from that of the prior year, to a total of about 44 million. The general fund did have a small decrease of fund balance by about 483,000. But it still has about 3.8 million in total fund balance, which represents about 4.5 months of your overall operations, which is a good overall strong fund balance at the end of the year. Your business type activities had very good strong cash flows from your operating activities. That's something that I always pay close attention to. That tells me that your overall charges for the services that you are charging your citizens is covering the cost of your operations to be able to fund future operation, to be able to fund debt flows and any expansions that you all need. So that's all very good. The pension trust fund was not quite as rosy. It had about a $3.7 million decrease this year. That's very common, something that we saw quite a bit in the state of Florida, really kind of throughout the Southeast. Really all correlation with the performance of the market this year. And I think as of this point in time, a lot of that's probably come back and turned back around. So certainly, we look at the pension on a long-term basis anyway. And so even though that was a pretty big hit last year, I think you're going to see it turn around again this year. This year you did receive and expend about $4 million in total federal and state awards. That required us to perform both a federal single audit and a state single audit. Your federal award primary program was on the ARPA program, the American Rescue Plan. And then the state was a large grant that we had to do a single audit on. I'm happy to report with both the financial audit itself of your statements as well as the single audits, we didn't have any kind of findings this year. So that was very, very good job by the city and the finance department and Sherry and all of her staff of doing a good job of taking care of the books and records for you all. We did have a finding, I believe, in the prior year regarding interfund balances, and we had a recommendation for you all to go to a more of a pooled cash operations that actually did take place this year. And because of that taking place, you all were able to clean up that finding from the prior year. So very, very clean overall financial audit this year. So hats off to the city for that. And that's really all that I wanted to touch on with the statements themselves. You also have another document that we call our AD&A. This is the one that's got a little different cover to it. This is our auditor's discussion and analysis. In this document, we give you a little bit of information about the firm, about our governmental practice. Also, we list out any of the new upcoming GASB statements that may be applicable to the city going forward. And we also list out all of our required communications. You can do that either in a written format or an oral format. We always choose to do that in a written format. So all that is in here. Also, the last thing I want to say is that Malden and Jenkins has been allowing our clients to receive training and free CPE, continuing professional education, since about 2008. Certainly we hope that you all have been able to take advantage of that. certainly Sherry and her staff could do that, but also anyone on this board is more than welcome to attend any of those. We've been doing those virtually, so you don't have to do any travel or anything, and they've been, some are just an hour, some are all day. So if there's any topics that you all would like to hear about, I hope that you get an opportunity to participate. And that's really all I had for tonight. Do you all have any questions for me?
Questions, guys? No, hats off to Sherry and
Yeah, congratulations, Sherry. It's a testament to your hard work over the years. There's no doubt about that, to get to this point.
thank you. Thank you for driving down.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I would echo the comments just made about the staff's influence on this, and I really appreciate the relationship with Malden and Jenkins. They've been a real asset in offering not just the training opportunities, which I know Sherry wants to take more advantage of that than she already has, but that is a good offering. Also, they bring such expertise, knowledge from their working with, as the documents show, lots of municipals. And so that is very comforting to me to know that we're getting really great advice and back. I really appreciate, and I want to call out the efforts of our representatives with Malden and Jenkins this year in helping us to stay on track and be able to timely file the audit. I know Wade was involved in that discussion. We appreciate that. Making it happen, because that's not an easy thing, particularly when we had staff changes this year that adversely impacted Sherry's ability to deliver some of the things that she normally would have been able to do in a more timely way. That's not a criticism. She did a very fine job of pulling us out of the fire and getting it done. And also, at the same time, getting our budget process started, and we're in the throes of that, as we have seen over the last several weeks. It just doesn't happen. You have to have dedicated staff. You have to have good advisors, and I appreciate all their efforts. I know the attorney has a small stake in it as well, and opining on various things. But for all the things to work, you got to have departments working together, department heads emphasizing the importance of our financial management systems. Is particularly important, as was pointed out, when you're having some success in acquiring federal and state funding beyond levels we've had the luxury of having in the past. Along with that comes the responsibility to check all the boxes and make sure you meet all the requirements. Throw in there a hurricane event that we're still going through the process of getting reimbursements on. And it's been a really, really busy last couple of years in particular. And my hat's off to all the staff for their efforts, to the commission for the guidance, but particularly to our audience of our auditor tonight. Please pass the word. They did a fine job.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And if you all do have any other questions for me, just feel free to reach out. Be more than happy to help you out.
Sir, we'll do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Wade.
So much.
I know you have a long drive, so don't feel like you have to hang around. Sherry, if you need to talk to him before, you're more than welcome to do that.
When you go back home, you can tell everybody you just come from America's sweetest town.
That's right.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right, great job. Okay, we'll move on to public hearings. We have an ordinance complete. This ordinance is pertaining to the new project that's changing the zoning from mobile home and recreational vehicle park district to multifamily residential. These are three ordinances consecutively because of the different parcels. And let me see if I have three different. So this is a public hearing, so it's open for public comment from the from the audience, any citizen. It's ordinance 2023-05. And I'll read it by title. An ordinance of the City of Clewiston, of Florida, rezoning 573 Commercio Street, with the parcel ID that you can read yourself. Block 424, lots 4 through 44, General Plan Clewiston, Plat Book 2, PGS 71 through 78 of Henry County, Florida, from the Mobile Home and Recreational Vehicle Park District RM1 to multifamily residential R3, providing for inclusion in the code, appendix and zoning map, conflict and severability, and an effective date. Any comments from the public? Anyone attending?
Of course, our planning director, community development director, Travis Reese, is here as well if you have any questions of him on it after you review it.
Okay, seeing none, any comments from the commission? We'll declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Thompson, second by Gardner. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Part B to the ordinance is ordinance 2023-06. And this ordinance by title is an ordinance of the City of Clewiston, Florida, rezoning 51 Commercio Street with the parcel ID number written here, Block 423, lots 19 through 22, General Plan of Clewiston, Plat Book 2, PGS 71 through 78 of Henry County, Florida, from Mobile Home and Recreational Vehicle Park District, RM1, to multifamily residential, R3, providing for inclusion in the code, appendix, zoning map, conflict, severability, and an effective date. Any comments from anyone in the audience? Any from the commission?
I just have a quick question. I noticed that ordinance number 2023-05 says 573 commercial, but ordinance number 2023-06 just says 51 commercial.
Is that a typo, Travis? That is correct.
They're actually, if you look at the map, they're actually different little parts.
Okay.
That's the reason for the 3 separate ordinances.
Okay. All right. So 51 Commercial Street is correct.
Right. That's pulled from property appraisals, less of a legal description, but more of a description.
Okay.
But parcel numbers are correct.
That's the only question I had.
Any further questions? I'll declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
Approve ordinance number 2023-06.
Okay, motion by Huslow, second by Thompson. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And the third piece of property, which is in ordinance 2023-07, an ordinance of the City of Clewiston, Florida, rezoning parcel ID number written in this verbiage, Block 423, lots 1 and 2, General Plan of Clewiston, Plat Book 2, PGS 71 through 78, Henry County, Florida, from Mobile Home and Recreational Vehicle Park District, RM1, to multifamily residential, R3, providing for inclusion in the code, appendix, zoning map, conflict and severability, and an effective date. Any comments from the audience? Comments from the commission? Questions? Declare the public hearing closed and entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
Motion by Edmonds,
Second.
second by Gardner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it is rezoned.
And thank you, Mayor and Commission. Just one quick comment, just for the record, and those that are listening in the audience. The Planning Board did recommend this. The Commission reviewed it in detail at your previous meeting in July and unanimously approved bringing it to public hearing and closure tonight in the second reading. This concludes the zoning process, as the Mayor just alluded to. This will allow Brian Sullivan Contractor, Inc., who is represented as the new owner, to move forward with his planned project. We do expect this to be expeditious. I think he's already submitted some of the design information to the Community Development Department for review, and we'll be moving forward to permitting for approximately 60 or so multifamily units on that tract as previously discussed.
Good project.
Quite an improvement to that site.
It's been years. And it's finally been rezoned. Okay, we'll move on to item 4, resolution 2023-072. This is a resolution that approves change order number 1 to the AMI contract between Census and the City of Clewiston. The financial impact is a decrease of $197,671.36.
Well, there's a reason.
Shocked me.
Don't jump too quick.
I'll read it by title. A resolution of the City of Clewiston, of the City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, approving the Census Change Order 1 to the AMI agreement between Census USA, Inc. and the City of Clewiston, and authorizing the mayor to sign. Any discussion or questions for Danny or Randy?
Yeah, I would recommend Danny and Lynn make comments as they see necessary to explain the purpose of this and what the next step will be to compensate for the units that are being removed from the census contract. However they want to do it. I see Danny's delegating it to Lynn. That's why I didn't say any more.
Where should I start?
Tell us what the deduct
what the deal is.
And
yeah, okay. So the water meters are larger than the meter boxes, our old Ford meter boxes, the metal ones. So that requires digging the meter box out, replacing the box with something that's larger and has a port for the smart point, and then installing the smart meter. And we have almost 1,000 of those. We rode out with the meter readers and did a survey to find out where they were, and then we got some pricing from Census. But their business model is to install meters quickly, to get to move. In fact, they did 95 today. Today was their first day, and they installed 95 meters. So
That's awesome.
They're good.
Wow.
But when it comes to doing the actual plumbing work that this kind of requires to get these water meter boxes changed out, not so much. And they quoted us around $200 per box. And there's no real pricing control that way. It would have been about $200,000 to do that, to just change those water meter boxes. So what we decided to do, we bought the meter boxes. We're going to bring a contract forward. We're going to have some of our plumbing contractors bid, and we'll just do those change outs, as we can. We've got the nice thing is I know Newberry did a couple years of site prep to get ready for these meters. We took the opportunity to buy all of these materials when the grant money came. So the nice thing is we have the materials. We have the meter boxes. We have to do this work. So we're just going to do it as it makes sense. And this seemed like the most sensible approach.
And just one clarification, Lynn or Danny, you're anticipating this will occur timing-wise. You might want to mention that, how it'll coincide with the project. I know we don't want to interrupt the current contractor that's on behalf of Census that's installing.
Yeah, so another advantage that we have, or that we're negotiating, and Quanta kind of led the way with this too, a good point, is we have access to their software. When these installers do an install, the information from the new data gets brought up into our billing system. So we have access to this Insight software through March. So our goal is, as the meters come in for us to install in October, we're going to try to adhere to a timeline that gets our meters swapped out before we lose access to Insight, so that we don't have to do that manually. So the timeline pretty much is starting in October, try to get those 1,000 meters changed out by March or April. So I mean, we're going to try to keep it rolling for that advantage, for that reason. Yeah, and our customers too. You know, they've been notified about this AMI project, and we'd like to get both their meters in sort of close in time if we can. So, plan.
Yeah, that'll be good. So you got 95 electric meters in today.
And today, yeah, only 4 of them came back with a code, and Mike's on them already. You know, they have some issue or maybe an access issue. 10 days, they do their due diligence, then we.
You got pictures just coming in. There we go. That's great.
Technology.
Awesome. Okay, resolution 2023-072 has been read by title. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Highslope, second by Gardner. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5 is the resolution 2023-073, which approves change order number 3 to the contract between ZEP Construction, Inc. and the City of Clewiston regarding the bridge over the C-21 canal. I'll read it by title first. A resolution of the City of Clewiston, of City Commission of the City of Clewiston, Florida, approving ZEP Construction, Inc. change order number 3 in the total amount of $3,861 for the additional construction-related services to provide a route for bringing electricity for the lighting of the future signage on the mechanically stabilized earth MSC wall for the bridge over C-21. Evidently, I don't know if it was forgotten or added, but they had to run more piping for electricity. Any discussion or questions for Danny or Randy?
Hey, Randy, why isn't our CEI here presenting this? Big project, and I have yet to meet him, talk to him, ask questions.
We could certainly have them. The engineering, the designer is here represented tonight, but we have not had the CEI here. We can certainly look at that as an opportunity to have them here. It's
right now we should have got an update from him. Progress, where we're at.
We're getting bi-weeklies, and I've been communicating the outcomes of those to you. Yeah, we can certainly include y'all in those bi-weekly updates that we get from the staff.
Or have him here for questions.
Sure. If there's any need for it, we'll be glad to. There hadn't been any real issues. This one is more of a design item, not really a CEI item. As the mayor pointed out, we are planning to put the welcome signs that you already agreed to include.
The cost that's put together is under the control of the CEI. I mean, we got cell phone being billed for this, per diem being billed for this. It's running conduit.
Well, that was
and we didn't know we were going to put lights in the design.
Yes, we have lights, but we didn't have a specific wire to the location of these two welcome, similar to our city welcome signs on each side of the bridge. There wasn't the plan to put lighting on those in the initial, because that wasn't included in the bid out project. That was done as a change order add-on. I think it was the first one, as I recall. So this was not in the original scope to add those. These have been added. The contractor went ahead and installed the conduit. We were just going to handle it, but because this is involving DOT and the grant funding and the South Florida Water Management District, it was, in my opinion, blown out of proportion, and they required a change order for $3,800 of conduit.
Full wire.
Well, the contractor will, but we had to put in the conduit for it.
That'd be another change order?
No, I don't think that. I'll check, but I believe this includes that. But I don't know if the engineer representative tonight can comment on that. We'll certainly. Yeah, because we're actually going to have someone install those. So probably when we do that, we'll pull the wire at the same time or have someone do that. But I can get an answer from that. It's probably as good a time as any to introduce Dave Trudeau, with Johnson Engineering, who's attending tonight because Andy was under the weather. Andy probably could have given a much better explanation of this whole process than either of us, but I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, Dave, because I know you hadn't been in the discussions on this until
nothing really to add. Yeah, Andy mentioned it was a spare conduit added after the fact, but which you all hit on already. So
I know it's not much money, but my deal, the CEI is looking out for our interest.
Sure.
You know, he's there to make sure a lot of these don't pop up.
Well, again, it wasn't in the scope of what the original project. It was an add-on that was done with Johnson's efforts. Y'all agreed to put in the signs to these, like our welcome signs, are going to have the fish loco and whatever. The board approved that. What we haven't done is contract someone to install those once the project's wrapped up. We'll have the option of either doing it through the existing contractor or someone else. And at that time, I guess, is when we'll install the wire and whatever.
We won't get another change order down the line to pull wire to this.
I don't know.
Probably more costly than the conduit.
It could be, but it'll be something that was outside the scope of the original contract. So it would have to be addressed by someone. I apologize for not being able to answer that, but Andy will probably be able to give us a quick answer on it.
Andy?
I'll get back to you. I'll get with Andy.
He'll get with Andy and get us an answer.
Expecting Andy here tonight.
He had planned to be here, but I told him
said, I can't show up.
We told him we didn't want him to come if he's sick, and so he got sick over the weekend. But we'll get a specific answer on the wiring related to this, if whether it's included or not. I don't believe it is. I think it was just the conduit that they've already installed. They installed it rather than wait because the concrete was being poured and it would have been too late, and so they went ahead. No, and it is part of the grant, and it has been approved as an eligible item to be reimbursed. But going through the convoluted process of getting those two agencies to approve it was something else. I mean, they were worried about it falling in the water, and it's not even over the water, that kind of thing. But we jumped through the hoops.
Overall, these guys have done a fantastic job. And $3,800 on a $5 million project. I mean, we're adding some conduit at my request, basically, because they asked me, and I said, yes, let's go ahead and do it now. So that's basically why it's being done. And I think that little bit on this project,
because it's FDOT, it requires all the...
Yes.
Well, making us go through all these hoops, normally that'd be just a minor thing you'd just handle on site, but you can't do it that way with them. Every T's got to be crossed and double crossed, denied, and whatever. And I can't blame it all on DOT.
I'm just all about holding their feet to the fire.
Well, the district is bad too, but the CEI's only involvement in it was getting a price.
And when we get this finished, how much are we going to charge the district for using our bridge to take equipment over?
That's a good question. Yeah, we haven't.
Every time they cross it, per pound.
But
Is there a motion on this already?
I don't think so.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Gardner, second by Thompson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item 6 is Resolution 2023-074. I'll read this by title. A resolution of the City of Clewiston, Florida, approving a state revolving fund amendment number 1 to loan agreement WW 260440 and grant agreement SG 260441 between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the City of Clewiston. Want to fill us in?
This is just to, being it's been pretty hard to get the equipment, we're just getting some extended time for the loan right now. And we've done about 10 lift stations so far. They're working on Esperanza. If you see them there, they're there tonight. They'll be there pretty late tonight because that's a big job.
That was a problem one there.
Yeah, yeah, big time. There's several of them. There's problems.
Yeah, true.
But no, we'll get there. But it's just to extend the funds. Again, because of equipment. It's pretty much everything's that way right now these days.
Giving us time to be compliant.
Any other questions? Motion
So moved.
by Highslope,
Second.
second by Edmonds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Okay, old business. You have the sheets there. Questions or comments, or add something, take something off?
I just a workshop for September. I think it's important that we get that, since Dylan's got all the information ready for us. I think it'd be great to go ahead and bump that one up and get that date. So Randy, I appreciate you doing that.
Okay.
Anyone else on old business? Okay, the monthly activity reports. Okay, hearing none, we will move on to comments from the manager.
Tonight, I've left you a draft of recommended. We discussed this at rather lengthy period during our workshops related to some of these projects. But I was tasked with bringing forward a legislative funding request for the upcoming legislative year of Florida State Legislature 23-24. I put a draft together and have updated the estimates. It's still a work in progress on a couple of these numbers, but I think we're very, very close and have confirmed them all this in the last few days. But if you have any questions, we had a long workshop discussion about the roof projects and what I've referenced as storm resiliency projects, because it involves in a couple of the buildings windows and wall issues and other things that related to trying to keep water out of our buildings.
There was a request to add another building to this. I don't know what that would.
Golf course.
Yeah, well, we talked.
And we can certainly look at that with the golf course facility to see what that would be. We haven't done the evaluation yet, but I may adjust the number to include that if it's deemed to be a good fit. And I don't know why it wouldn't be, but it is. I'm making a note of that right now. But in any event, these are hard numbers, well, as hard as they get, I guess. We had a consultant who did significant evaluations of each facility. You had all the excerpts of the reports and had a presentation from that consultant. And you see it totals up to be a little over 1.5 million for those facilities, less anything we add for the golf course, and we certainly can look at that. The second item we can discuss, we have talked about this in a workshop format under the utility discussion, what we refer to on staff as the Harlem Community Water Line Replacement Project. This is an antiquated line that's built, I guess, old cast iron materials. Della Tobias Street is the primary area that it covers. The engineer is prepared, I believe, to discuss the scope modification of this. At one of our discussions, we talked about expanding this line to tie it back into the new line that's being going to be constructed, and tying it in so that it has good looping and so forth. I'll defer to the engineer if he wants to make specific comments, Dave, on that. But the scope of this line, and Danny can comment as well, we have talked about in a couple of workshops. We had looked at trying to pursue funding with the county's help, because the county is the only one that can ask for it, for CDBG monies outside the city, since it is located outside the city. Unfortunately, the county is still in the process of closing out their CDBG program because they can't pursue a new grant until that one is closed out. That has taken longer than anticipated, so the comment came up, why don't we in the county consider making this part of our legislative ask this year and go ahead and get it taken care of, because any grant funding source from another one, such as CDBG, would take at least another year. And Danny can comment on the issues we're having, as he has in public workshops that you've held, with regard to the quality of the water and how we're having to do a lot of maintenance work to try to keep this water as quality as we can. It meets all the regulatory requirements, but we do consistently get customer complaints about the freshness of the water and related type issues and coloration and things of that nature. And I'll defer to Danny if he wants to comment more on that. But the number we've come up with now is larger. It's 1.7 million to handle that entirety of that project. So, Danny, if you want to comment, and then if our engineer wants to add anything.
Well, we are going to do a temporary fix. We're going to go from like 7th Avenue to 11th. We've ordered the pipe, and the county's agreed, Randy, to work with us. They're going to provide the equipment, and we'll provide the labor. So as soon as the pipe gets in, we're going to tackle that, and that'll clear that issue there. But again, the job's engineered to put an 8-inch in, and we're going to tie it to the 24-inch, which is part of the main going to Everglades. So that'll definitely help that area.
Well, that is good news we can share that tonight. You confirmed with the county that they will assist us in that temporary fix, which will hopefully take care of any issues. We've been complaints of customers, but obviously that's not a comprehensive fix. This will improve fire protection.
That area where we do have the problem.
I believe that line dates back to 29.
It's old. Yeah,
it's one of our oldest, I imagine, on the system.
It's the only issue we really have in that area. We'll, next couple of weeks we'll have that.
Well, we have other lines around that same date in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
been around.
Older
That's
areas,
the original
so it's
from the
not.
water plant for company.
So if anybody ever asks you guys, our water plant, we test everywhere, like weekly. So if we have any failures or any bad water, you have great water. So, I mean, it's not. We have to flush.
Yeah,
we flush daily.
Yeah, we do waste a lot of water, I guess you'd say, because of having to keep it fresh. But it meets the standards, requirements. But it doesn't look good, doesn't smell good. That doesn't mean a whole lot to customers.
Turbidity samples at the fire.
These guys,
as far as our water treatment plant, do they?
Oh yeah, yes. That's who. Yes.
By the plant.
Yeah, that's where they go. They test all the main pipes that go out, water lines. They have several areas in the north, south, Harlem. Yeah, we test.
Okay, Dave, if you would comment on the scope of it to any degree you want to, I would appreciate it. Make you say something tonight.
So as Randy mentioned, it's along Della Tobias from 13th all the way to 7th, which is the full scope of the project. The 1.7 million is soup to nuts, if you will, design, construction, everything included. So that was our estimate now, but as Randy alluded to, things are increasing, so we'll want to get money quick and get it installed quick before things start going up. So
because even with this fix, if the legislature funds it, we're a year out. I mean, to get it, the money won't be available till July. Then we'd have to do the design and so forth beyond what they've already done. And CDBG is probably a year and a half to 2 years. So we'll still probably pursue that unless we get this approved.
We're going to expand the diameter of that line? Yeah.
What is it now, Danny, just for 4 currently, which doesn't allow for fire protection. So that will be an enhancement to that whole community. And that's one of the reasons the county strongly supports us in this effort.
Well, Dave, nice to meet you and glad you're with us tonight.
Yes, it's a pleasure getting out here. So it's nice to meet you all. And
it's a pleasure getting out of here.
Getting out to here. Okay. Maybe no. No. You'll be seeing my face a lot more. Andy's going to be retiring here in about 3 or 4 months, so there'll be myself and a few other gentlemen that'll be out here quite a bit more often, and so it won't just be me; it'll be a few others as well. So look forward to all the future work and meeting you all. So
thanks, Dave.
Then the third item we've discussed during workshop as well as during development discussions is looking to get the capabilities to have some type of ladder or aerial ladder service capability through our fire department for emergency response. And to that, I'll ask Travis to come up and describe this equipment for public purposes as well as the board. Just a reminder of what we're anticipating, and he has done research and come up with a number that's here for an equipped truck like we want to see. So, Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Travis Reese, Fire Chief. As we discussed in the workshops, leading up to this, we're at a point where our development plans and our current infrastructure we have requires us to have an aerial truck. We're looking at replacement. We typically keep our fire engines 20 years, so we're coming up on replacement. 2 of them are coming up pretty quickly. It's in your 5-year replacement for this truck. So Mr. Martin has suggested that we go for appropriations. This would greatly benefit our budget. As you know, we're working through our assessments and what it costs over a 10-year period for fire protection. This would be a great boost to that budget. But back to why we need it, it's an aerial device. It's basically the ladder truck that you see in most jurisdictions. It's not a platform truck. A platform truck is where the firefighters stand on a platform and are lifted up, and they operate the truck, and they can do rescues and fight fire from that platform. This is a smaller version. It'll look just like the trucks you currently own, other than a small ladder on top. So the ladder will be raised by a firefighter in the rear of the vehicle, and that ladder can extend and spray water without anyone on the ladder, but firefighters can climb that ladder and do rescues with it. So it's really an aerial device with rescue capability. So just so we're clear, it's not something you'll see firefighters on.
Stationary cannon on the ladder.
It is, right. There's a remote cannon on it. That operator on the back of the truck will actually be operating it. So it gives great protection for the commercial, but also the single-family homes. A lot of single-family homes, we could use that tool there at those fires to put the fires down quicker, to get a quicker reaction to it. So we'll see it used more, but we're really at a point now in our jurisdiction, I'll say jurisdiction, not just the city, but Eastern Hendry County Fire District, you're really at a point where your ISO rating requires you to have that truck. So we're here, hopefully get it in appropriations. It's in your 5-year plan anyway for replacement for the engine, a fire engine. We're suggesting now with our proposed growth and what we currently have to go ahead and go with the aerial device. So with that, I'll open up any questions you might have about it.
How high is the ladder?
Right now, we're looking at it, it's going to be a 75 or 78 foot ladder, depending on the vendor that's selected.
Will it fit in our firehouse?
It will. Actually, it's only about 3 feet longer than the truck that we have now. That would be an embarrassment. Mr. Martin, you would. It will fit.
That's the first question I asked.
And length.
Yeah, because if we went with
it can happen in other jurisdictions. It may have happened where they've ordered trucks they don't.
If we went with a 100-foot platform, most likely you'd have to have another place to put it, right, or addition.
And there's a lot of considerations that go into those type building of a truck. The single axle will do what we need to do. It's not going to reach the top of the sugar mill or the refinery, but it still serves the purpose for what we need for our ISO rating.
How much water will it carry?
Won't carry a lot. It's going to be one of our smaller water carrying trucks. It's around 500 gallons, but the pump will still be rated at 1,200 gallons. So your capability of pumping is still there. You'll be connecting into a hydrant or using some ancillary tender or something to supply it. But the whole purpose of that truck, that small tank, is just to supply water initially to get the pump primed, or if you happen to be responding, have a small car fire or some other small fire that you respond to. But the idea of the tank is not like what you have in your fire engine or your pumper, where it can fight a full fire for several minutes, maybe up to 10 minutes. This is not, we're not asking this truck to do that. That truck gets to it would be the second due engine. It would respond, set up in a fashion to be supplied water, and it would be large amounts of water.
That greatly reduces the cost.
It reduces the weight, which is very important as well.
Don't need another axle, don't need.
That's correct. You get away from that dual axle, the outriggers get smaller. Still have them, but they're not as robust. And this engine will seat 4 instead of 5. So there are some takeaways that you lose with the ladder. The current trucks you have now have what's called a Vista roof, where the firefighters can stand up in the truck and get their pack on after it has stopped moving. But this, with the ladder configuration, you'll have one fewer firefighter and a little bit more, I won't say cramped, but a little more less robust cabin to sit in.
With operating it from the ground, though, how does that come into play on some of our taller buildings? How do you fight a fire from the ground when you're 5-story?
Well, you have spotters, and that person is trained on how to operate that. So you will have the officer of that particular truck typically is your spotter, and they're going to maneuver that truck with an extra set of eyes where to direct it, whether it be the ladder for rescue or the water, the stream of water.
No controls up top?
No, it's strictly must have the control from the bottom.
As you can see by the estimate, could you comment on why you came up with this estimate and who you've contacted?
Certainly. We've got two of our main vendors that we've dealt. I won't mention them, but they've supplied trucks to you in the past. And the number we come up with is 1.4, and that should include, that's a little bit more than we think we're going to need, which we like to always come in under. And it also provides it with new equipment. So with that new truck, it'll have new equipment on it, new air packs, new rescue tools, any of the ancillary equipment that typically goes with it, additional ground ladders, because we call that a ladder truck. I guess I'll touch on this. We carry very limited ladders on our fire engines. This one will have compartments that we will be able to actually pull larger 35-foot ladders out and supply many more feet of actual ladders to a building. So it's not just the aerial device, but the compartmentalization actually allows us to put multiple ground ladders at one time. So it really changes the capabilities of the fire department. So it's a big step for us, big step for the community.
Where are we going to put the engine then it's going to replace?
Well, it's going to go for trade-in or auction, unless there's another need. I say that that's typically what we would want to do with it. If the county has a need, then of course we'd recommend taking it to one of the rural stations. But really, once they get past 20 years, as you see with your budgets, the cost of maintaining those trucks, be careful what we give away. When you accept something free, it's usually not free. But the pumps are more expensive. You start having larger failures, and you see that in our maintenance.
One other reality check is the time and frame on this.
Yes, sir. It's not your typical truck. Typically, you could order these 18 to 24 months. The quotes I've got and the estimates that are coming back to me now are 30 to 33 months is realistic. So when you do your ask, it's a multi-year ask. There is language, and we'll research that a little bit of what language we have to put into the ask that allows it to be maybe encumbered now and then paid for later. We can sign the contract, but there's hoops we have to jump through for that to satisfy our purchasing and the state's requirements. It can be done. They assure me that, and I won't go through the list of cities who have recently, I say recently, within the last 2 years, received trucks through appropriations. But I went through a list, and it was more than a half a dozen. So it can be done. And so we've got our fingers crossed, hoping this will go
There's $3 billion more in their budget this year.
Oh, it was right. We put together a very doable but tight budget. So this is some great breathing room over the next 10 years.
The state has $3 billion more than they anticipated.
Yep.
America's sweetest town certainly could use just a little bit.
Yeah, and right. And I know you touched on this, but one thing we want to make sure, this is not just driven by tall buildings. Actually, the utility of these, in my experience, has been more for 2-story buildings to get to the roof and be able to provide water on them, and also for rescue, as you pointed out, for taller buildings. But the taller buildings, the newer ones, all have robust fire protection through their sprinkler systems and so forth. It's for the older buildings in particular, in our case, I think will be the greater benefit and utility of it. And even a house, there's a tremendous value in that. So I'll defer to Travis if he wants to add anything on that.
You're touching on it greatly. And I'll remind you, when we had the storm, the strip mall that was on fire was a single story. But the fire had actually progressed across the roof. You had to put 5 firefighters on the roof, sounding the roof with their pike poles. Ladder showed up from 74, which is 16 miles away in another jurisdiction. But when they showed up, the safety of fighting that fire for your firefighters went up tremendously, because now we could pull them from the roof and concentrate them just in an area that we needed, because we could gain access from the front of the building. That's where the fire was at. That's where you needed to be. So it'll help on the smaller buildings, and that's what I kind of alluded to that, and I'm glad the manager touched on that again, is you'll see the truck roll out to more than just a high, what someone would consider a high rise, which we don't have high rises. High rises are larger than 75 feet. Or, if we get a 75-foot, 78-foot quint, we're going to be fine with that. It's going to roll out and get that master stream device. It's like putting a big water hose on the end of that ladder, and then you can direct the stream. So tremendously valuable in a large fire situation.
Well, like you said, it's not an addition to, it's replacing a pumper.
Right. It's
and
not
we're
something
gaining capability.
Right. So you're keeping your same capability. Right now, ISO requires us to have inside the city, inside this area, with U.S. Sugar refinery, we're required to have at least 3,600 gallons per minute of fire flow. And that's how departments determine how many vehicles they need. It's not an arbitrary number. So we don't want to increase our vehicles. We want to keep the amount of fire flow that's required. In our 1,200 gallon a minute pumpers, we have 3 of them. So that gives us our 3,600 gallons. As we replace this engine 9, as it gets replaced, it'll replace with the same 1,200 gallons, but
gaining some capability.
But you're gaining additional capabilities with the ladder. And you need to build it. And keep in mind, these are 20-year trucks. So even though we're there now with our plans that we're going to have a need for it, it's also going to be serving you 20 years from now. I'll be gone, but that truck will still be servicing this community. And then, of course, when we try to make plans, and 10 years out, 5 years out, look for its replacement. It's a cycle that keeps going around. So I think this is the appropriate time. And if we can get it through appropriations, it'll be such a shot in the arm to the fire department budget.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for working on that.
Thank you for your support.
Then the last item is a partnership with the county. I actually would qualify that all 4 of these are beneficial to the county as well as the city. As you were well aware, we talked about this, the Police Department Emergency Operations Center getting a new roof. We've already had lengthy discussions about how that facility had to cover the whole county. It's the backup for the county's main one. So all and other buildings that we have are utilized by county agencies and so forth. Harlem, as I mentioned, is out in the county and it's out of the city, and certainly is a priority for them. And then the fire truck, the county shares with us those expenses, and we serve an area much larger than the city in collaboration with the county, and they pay the bulk of the budget. The 4th item that I've got listed here would be even a greater collaboration. We've had requests to consider this, to extend wastewater force main improvements, to extend service to portions of the Hookers community in the vicinity of the South Florida Water Management District existing office maintenance facility in that area. The estimate from the engineers is $3.2 million. This one, the only discussion will be who actually is the lead agency on this. When we did the force main to the airport area, that was led by the county. And so they may decide to make this their request, and they be the agency that would receive the funds. I have no problem with that. That works fine as far as I know with the wastewater force main in the opposite direction. So I don't know why that couldn't follow suit here, but we can get insights from the legislative delegation and from the county and make that determination. But in the final analysis, the city's request, if we go with this format, would be 4.6, maybe bumped up if we add that other roof a little bit, but under $5 million. The force main would bring it all to roughly $8 million. And so that's the recommendation, that you endorse this as a draft. We'll fine tune it, give it back to you, but we don't have a regular meeting before they're due. The requests have to be to the legislative delegation by the 8th and be presented on the 15th in their local hearing on it, and so we wanted to be timely and make sure we had it something that reflects the commission's priorities before we go forward, and then we'll ask the county to endorse all of our requests.
Is that local hearing here in Clewiston or in LaBelle?
No, it's in LaBelle.
LaBelle.
Yeah, and you'll get the 15th. I've checked the time, but I don't know the exact time. I think it's in the afternoon.
This looks good to me. I think these are good projects.
Mm-hmm.
What's the benefit of running it out to the South Florida Water Management if they're not going to be there any longer?
They're probably going to be there more longer than you think, but it's going to take a while before they have the other one built. I would guess a year or more, maybe two. But someone's going to use that facility, and they that was one of the options South Florida looked at, was upgrading there, but they had to have sewer. And Danny's had some discussions. There's also adjacent properties. The U.S. Sugar owns some properties there that is in need of sewer, and there's some others I'm sure along the way. I haven't had any direct conversations with anybody other than those two mentioned.
Our goal is to get Hooker's Point, the whole area. That's the county would like that, and of course that looks good with us for DEP taking all those septics offline.
But we already have.
Yeah, we already have some portions of that area in mobile home parks.
That is our goal, to get the whole area.
The other piece of it is there is the potential, and I haven't been involved in these discussions, but potentially some government use of that facility other than South Florida Water Management when they do leave. It's a good facility for some other governmental type operation. The example I've mentioned is the county potentially use it as their eastern maintenance facility, and that. I haven't been involved in those discussions, but I've suggested the county consider that, and this would be a consideration for that as well if we're able to get them. I don't know what issues they're having, but there was reasons that they wanted to either relocate on that site, expand, they being the district, or get sewer because they couldn't do what they wanted to do without it. And so I think that's what led them to make the decision, and I'm glad they did, to come inside the city and locate their future facility whenever it gets built.
Sounds good.
All right, so if anyone has any comments or changes, now, is this the priority? Is this pretty much?
I would say so. You can debate it in any. I don't know that really matters unless they get into unless the state gets into a debate over which is priority. But I would say that I could live with this being the priority because the latter is the least of the priority in terms of immediate needs, but hopefully we won't have to get into that.
The latter, the end of the list. Not the ladder truck.
The latter.
Simmer down, Travis.
And again, if the county asks for the last item, then our request would be the under $5 million. So by comparison, that ought to be a deal for them, given what we've got in the last 2 years. But I'd be happy to get all of these items. They certainly would mean a lot to the city.
More discussion on the request?
No, I would just like to bring something up we talked about before, or I did, about inter-county days. But most cities, when the legislature opens up, most cities go visit the representative and lobbyist and talk about our request. And for some reason, Clewiston's never did that. So I was wanting to entertain, see what the commissioner's thoughts were on doing that this session.
I would be open to that.
Whoever will.
They want to see us up there. They will make time. They're not rushed, and I think it's very important. Majority of cities do it, and we just have not. Visit their offices here, maybe, or when they come over here. I think it's important we go see them face to face, and I've had a great experience in the past with it. Very effective. and you learn a lot about the process.
Yeah, I've been each year, and I certainly think it's valuable. If the commission members want to go as well, we certainly can make that happen, as many as that want to go, because I think it does make a difference. They've been very good to us, but if you can squeeze it into your schedule, we'll certainly make you aware of the scheduled times. The league has a scheduled time that so they have some speakers and some other things associated, or you could do it independently, as the vice mayor just mentioned. Some do their own visit, but it's just whichever.
It's something the representatives look forward to. They see suits all the time. They like to see local folks come, let them know their issues. Of course, you speak with one voice. We don't go there together and just, but I think it's important we make an effort to go.
I know that Hendry County was there this past year, because they did have, they did have a Hendry County day, or they had a Hendry County booth. If the EDC.
Yeah, I was there. They had theirs following one of them after the cities, and yet I don't know who all went. I know at least one or two commissioners have gone since I've been going, but I don't know how many, but went this year. But I don't think it's more than one or two.
I think this, the city needs to be represented there. Elected
Well, if you
officials.
can come up with a date or a schedule or something ready when the lobbyists, I'm sure the lobbyists could even set it up.
He'll be glad to accommodate.
The lobby sets the dates and appointments.
Yeah, I know we can do it during league time, and that has other benefits if you want to go then. I plan to go again. And so if y'all want to go, we'll send you the information similar to what we did on the other meetings. And if those that can make it work, we'll get the
Also find out about Hendry County days, if that's during the same time or if it's a different time.
I don't think they have it. I think they do it when the county commissioners.
Well, they set up a booth and they had,
Well, that
there were elected officials from other communities, and
there was an event that they participated in on the quad out there.
Right. But I think
I don't
it's
remember the
important
name of it, but it was tied to some other event.
we should be there for that. The city should be there with a booth and our information to share about the community.
Yeah, because I know as you said, the economic development EDC did go.
Yeah, but there were other elected
and they
officials
had
there.
Others represented, and we can certainly check on that too and see when that is. Because we actually went one year, 3 years ago, I think it was, maybe 4, to show solidarity. LaBelle had representatives, we had representatives, and the county had representatives, and we met with state agencies and all of the legislative delegation at that time. It's changed some since then, and that was very productive. There were some specific reasons we all did it that year, because some of the feedback we'd gotten is there wasn't a collective request. There wasn't coordination going on locally, and we went to show that was happening now. It may not have happened in the past. And we actually all endorsed everybody's projects that year. We haven't had any reason to do that on anything with LaBelle since, but certainly with the county, we've shared endorsing the same projects the last 4 years, and I think it's been helpful. Because the legislature members told me, they said hearing one request from all of you or the same request is very important to them. Like they fully endorsed and supported our wastewater treatment plant renovation money this past year. And, we might have gotten it anyway, might not have, but I'm glad they did endorse it. All right, so we'll definitely include that. And certainly any of y'all, I just looked it up, it is 1 o'clock on that date for the legislative hearing. It's on 1 o'clock on the 15th on a Friday at LaBelle. I think they do it in the City Hall building, if I remember right. Yeah, I'll send a reminder.
Okay, anything else, City Manager?
No, sir.
City Attorney?
Just one update. We have been tentatively set for trial on the Clewiston Commons case. for 2024. I believe the specific date was sometime in the month of July, but I'd have to double check on that. As part of that, we've also been ordered to mediation, which will occur next month. So I likely will be requesting an attorney-client session with all of you in the near future to go over the details of that. And of course, if I'm not saying there will be, but if any resolution can be made for that case, it would have to come from an action of the commission. So just an update, we have upcoming mediation for that. If nothing comes out of that, we will be set to finally resolve this one way or the other in 2024.
All right. Okay. All right, comments from the city commission. We'll start with Commissioner Edmonds.
Oh, I think number one priority for us is the roofs. We have to get that done. We can't have mold in our libraries, so, anyway.
Commissioner Thompson?
I just had one follow-up. I forgot about it earlier. Something we've requested in the past, Randy, is to track, because if we can track membership, 9 holes, track whether they're residents or not. Can we start tracking that?
Okay, should be able to. I'll look into it and see how we can do it.
What's the plans for a POS system at the golf course?
Well, they have one now. Sherry can, yeah, I'll let her update you on that.
Yes, we talked in generality before when we talked about the improvements that we wanted to do in our cashiering. And so I wasn't speaking in terms of the now. Certainly, I'm not management, but I know that the golf course has some other issues that are much higher than a POS right now. They need lots of equipment. Always, you have a $1 million irrigation system coming up, so they don't have a Cadillac of point of sale system. It gets us by. We do stats. We're all about stats. We can try to put our heads together to see if we could track that. But in the near future, I don't have like a point of sale. When we talk about our system, our accounting system, we're not going to have a golf course point of sale that's going to connect into our accounting software because nobody specializes in that takes care of governmental fund accounting. However, could we get a point of sale that perhaps makes these files, they're CSV files, you can import them right into your system. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, is that into the future, one of the things to address is our point of sale and have it where it makes a file and you just pull it over and put it in. So my apologies for talking that we were going to get a point of sale like really soon, but I was talking like the big scope and the big plan. But right now I didn't, in his CAT plan, I don't see a point of sale. My only suggestion would be that finance would be included in a point of sale so that we could address some of these items that come up. It's just like our fuel. We don't have a system that automatically, every time we get fuel, that automatically connects to our financial system. Because the financial system, it's like the nucleus of everything. So it has to be like really, I'm kind of protective over it where that's concerned. But we don't have somebody sitting there manually putting that fuel in. We have a file that comes over. It comes over in Excel. We check how much gas cost us on average. We put it in. We make a file. It goes in. Boom, it's done. So that's my thinking for that, because yes, we're constantly asking the software company, do you have a program, a point of sale that maybe caters to golf courses? They don't. So
you really don't need something that caters to a golf course. If I can go to a food truck,
yes,
and they have a POS system, you can put a card in and charge. That's all it takes. It's very cheap. If I go to a venue and they whip out their telephone, and I can use my credit card from their telephone, and I get an email a week from them because they know where I live, they know my address, everything from that. A golf course can have a point of sale system in 2 weeks installed, very cheaply.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We can certainly do that. We have some semblance of that now, whether we want to upgrade that. But I think Sherry's point's well taken. Integration with our financial software is not possible that way. It would not. It would be a much bigger undertaking.
That cash register out there is not integrated.
No, it's not.
No, she's not saying it is.
She's saying it.
I'm just saying it's improvement over what we got now. I don't have to get fancy. It's got to interact with this. It's not interacting with anything now, correct?
No, not to my knowledge. I don't know of any interaction with
Looking
the
at
financial.
the pool, everything over there, that's something we could use also.
But I would say this: we have other departments that can be integrated in their financial that I think will likely be a priority over the golf course, since they have some semblance of a point of sale. We don't have one at all in some of the other departments.
Way overthinkable. It's replacing a cash register, except we can track a lot more things.
Well, and certainly we can look at that and see what the options are and what the cost is. But I know Sherry's priority has been to try to get some of these other departments.
3 years.
Not the golf course. We have.
I've been bringing it up for 3 years.
Well, we've been talking about other departments where we have no point of sale, period, doing those and putting them in. Do you want to comment on that?
Well, I do. We have the equipment to do that. And it all goes back to, I didn't ask for the staff changes, I can't even explain to you. You have no idea. You have to be very careful with that. You have people that are in other departments, they're not thinking about what they're doing. And it might seem minor to you, but I can't have someone, no offense, but just an example. I can't have someone in code enforcement or someone in recreation calling the software company up and going, hey, do this. And the software company going, okay, because you've got people in the software company, they're just like us. They have lots of new staff too. They have no idea sometimes the things that they are affecting. So it all has to be done, and it all has to be done orderly. As far as the golf course goes, we don't have a Cadillac system. We could probably put our heads together and come up with residents versus non-residents. I'm pretty proud of the fact that we pretty much can come up with our revenues, and we know about the who plays 9 holes and who plays 18. The issue with not being able to do the membership is because of the corporate. I have no idea how many members that makes. If we put our heads together with that, it has to be cooperation. Could that be done? Yes, we could give somebody a member number, and we could strongly enforce it, but we would all have to make sure that we work together, because I can only rely on the information that comes in. But the system is getting the job done. Plus, it also tracks their inventory, and they also use it for their tournaments. So it's not just a point-of-sale cash register that they purchased. It is not a Cadillac, but they use it for much more than just the cashiering that they're turning over to us to go through. So there are other ancillary reasons for them having it. And I'm not a proponent of keeping it. I'm just saying it's not something that we have been actively seeking because of the other issues and the other requests that they've had that have come in for their system. As far as all the other departments, we have the equipment, we have everything right now. I do not have anyone right now that I have not been able to do that myself, to work with the other departments, but we have it, and we're going to get there. But I have a very new staff, and I don't have someone that I can say, okay, can you go over here to community development? Can you work with them right now? I can't, because I can't take that chance that something's going to be messed up, because if something doesn't add up, then I'm lost. So, I apologize for getting emotional about it, but it's a lot of work that has gone in to what we're doing.
On you, I'm just saying that's something that's important to me to track. And outside of a new POS system, can we track it for what we have now?
We could put our heads together with Robbie, and I can say, hey, could you probably do this? Could you maybe do that? We can ask the point of sale company right now. That is something that maybe, we can put our heads together and come up with that, and come up with the corporate too. It is something I've been thinking about, the corporate, but I haven't gotten back to.
And the reason why I believe it's important is because I've just pulled some numbers out of the air. I don't think it's fair for 25% of the residents, 100% of the taxpayers in Clewiston to pay for 25% of the use of the golf course. A lot of these tournaments and stuff, a lot of the players do not live in the city, but the taxpayers has the 100% of the cost put on them. And you see what we are having to move over to cover the losses. I'll call it losses. Yes, it is recreation, but the taxpayers in Clewiston is paying for 100% of that recreation for whoever decides to come. And if we track this, I think in the future we need to address that and change it. So the taxpayers of Clewiston aren't paying 100% of the use when they may be having 10% of activity or 50%. I don't know what that is because we can't track it. That's why it's important to me. That's why it's important, because it could be a savings of $350,000 this year if we change the way we operate. So it is significant.
Well, I'll work with Mr. Martin and
I don't
Robbie.
believe a point of sale system is going to correct that. It might have some benefit. I don't disagree with you, but I think the value of that facility goes way beyond just who plays it. I think it has benefits to the
Not just who plays
it goes beyond that, in my opinion, because there's economic impacts on the community. And we've had this discussion, and I don't want to belabor it tonight, but your point's well taken. We'll take a look at what options are available to do something more with the POS now to provide that additional data. But I don't see it as necessarily directly related with that. It'll give you more information, but I don't think that'll make such a decision for you any easier.
Can't make a decision now because we don't have those numbers in front of us.
But we have what we have, and I was under the impression that the commission was supportive of the facility and operations, realizing, like all recreation and all our city services except our utilities and our enterprise funds, that it's subsidized by taxpayer dollars. That's the reality.
The recreation isn't paid 100% by the taxpayers of Clewiston.
It's paid substantially by the taxpayers of Clewiston.
I mean, all of our
yeah.
recreation
Other
is
than
funded by 100%.
indirectly through county taxes.
And
The
Mr.
county
Martin,
gives us
I do think that the
$100,000.
commission was in agreement when we weren't being
I mean,
streamed on
That's what
the
I was trying
internet.
to get around without saying.
Well, sure. But in
$1,000 that the county gives us, but it's only for a certain amount.
but
and
the
that's because
city
county
residents pay part of that.
are there. But anyway, recreation is never going to be a moneymaker. So
We can curtail some of our losses. Or
so
expenses.
a lot of the recreational facilities that we have are a big drain on the budget, but the only one that's making or bringing in income is the golf course.
That's what I was wondering.
No other
thinking
recreational facility
that
is
when we
bringing
looked
in
at this
income.
last year,
Yeah,
that it was the
revenue.
closest
None of
one.
them. So anyway, that's my
certainly-
opinion, and I think your point's good. I think it's something that needs to be looked at, but I don't see.
I mean, we shouldn't just think that our hands are tied. We should always should be looking at savings, especially this budget. We're
I agree. I definitely looked at savings by not increasing recreational facilities, because that's going to be the big kicker in the future. We can't even, we struggle to maintain what we have right now, and those aren't any revenue bringing facilities. I'm talking about our parks and recreation. None of it's revenue streams, other than the golf course that does bring revenue streams.
Well, I personally think the golf course should be an enterprise fund. But
And we pretty much operated almost like one now in terms of our accounting for it. And that's why we're able to tell you the amount of subsidy that's being done annually.
But the end game is down the road. But if we can track 9 holes and 18
Oh, I
holes,
don't
we can
disagree
track whether
with
it's
that.
Inside the county or outside the county.
I don't disagree with that. I think
And I
it's,
assume they have to prove, if they get a discount for living in the city, they have to prove ID they live in the city, right?
yeah, I would assume you'd have some sort of procedure that you would set up to accomplish that. And that should be easy enough.
Procedure?
No, because there's no distinction between the two.
So if you live in the city or outside the city, you pay the same.
If you're
Yeah.
if you buy a membership, I think there is. I think
I
if you
thought we
buy a
talked about a
membership, it's
discount.
not just everybody.
In
is it?
city, out of city, the play is the same rate. We don't have an in city rate or an out of city rate.
May I say something?
Sure.
I mean, I don't have I'm the numbers person. You know, I just try to come up with the best way to do the budget, to come up with the numbers and to try to get as accurate as possible. But I mean, you have a lot of winter visitors who don't have addresses here that play during season. A lot of them are from out of state. Their address is not going to be Clewiston.
And they live in the city, and many of them.
But that's just, I mean, I'm not part of legislative body. I totally get that. Just when you said that, I'm about the season play.
Which is what, 68%? Was that a seasonal play?
Yeah.
Like 70. It's over 70 now.
Over 70%.
Yeah.
78%.
But we'll get you an option and see what it'll cost. And
We talked about tracking that last budget. See,
I think you mentioned it. I don't.
Goodman brought it up about tracking in county or in city, outside the city.
Yeah, I do recall it being discussed. I don't remember a specific direction, but we don't need that. We'll take it as action tonight. The director's gone, but from the workshop, but we'll.
I apologize for not bringing this up.
Well, that's fine. We got sort of
Fair to
had
him,
to,
he's
we had
not
to
here now.
had to get done by 4 or 5, so we didn't get everything we could have done, but that's fine. We can work on it.
Commissioner Haslett?
I'd like to tip my hat to Sherry rounding out another budget process that has gone really smoothly. So thank you for that. And been a good few weeks getting this knocked out.
Or she's not done yet. She's got to bring.
No,
Randy got to
but
bring
she
a
makes
balanced
it
one.
easy. She makes it easy for you to consume it because
Lot
it's a
more
lot of
information.
stuff, and
Yeah, I agree.
I appreciate that every
I
year.
agree. Well said.
And a good audit. That was great. Great
Oh,
news
good.
tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it all work.
Do you have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Speaking of budget, I'm hoping, I know that we were going to discuss the CRA budget tonight, but seeing that the lateness of the hour and there's a lot of information here, I would hope that we could postpone the CRA budget discussion till next Monday. I know we have a scheduled meeting at 3 o'clock.
We canceled that.
Oh, we did, the 28th?
Yeah. Unless you want to reschedule it.
Well, I think,
It's up to you four. I won't be here Monday, so.
Yeah.
okay. Well, can we do it later
I
this
think
week?
that's fine. I think it's.
I really don't think it'll take long. All we're going to cover tonight, my recommendation is going to be we give you the numbers on our revenue, explain that for particularly the number of the members who aren't as familiar with how it works, the formula.
I think 3 hours and 45 minutes is my threshold.
But I'm saying that's really all we have tonight. My recommendation on use of the funds is going to be that we have a workshop and present the options and specific projects and estimates, and y'all will have to decide, but we can do that throughout the year. We know that by the end of the year, we're going to have 1.2 million in rough numbers accumulated based on these estimates that Sherry's put together. And we need to start spending some of it. And I would set not to spend 100% of it, but I think we ought to consider obligating anywhere from 80 to 90% of it for specific projects that are eligible, that the commission has the final say on what it's spent for. And
Quite a
there are
few
a number
pages
of
in here,
options.
Randy. I'm like Hillary.
Well, I'm saying I'll have to review it, but I don't know that we need to have a whole meeting on that because it's not going to change the numbers. I think the numbers are the
Why
numbers.
don't we tack it on to what is it, the 7th?
Oh, we can, but we have to have a balanced budget. Of course, this one's not going to change the balanced
Right,
budget,
right.
so I'm fine with that if you want to add it to the 7th.
The thing about the CRA discussion is the numbers are the numbers.
It is, that's it.
And really, it's how are we going to spend.
Right, which I think is important in the categories that it goes
No,
in.
I'm not saying it's not important. I'm just saying
What did I say wrong, Sherry?
the CRA.
I just meant that they're subject to change.
Yeah, these are estimates. Yeah, these are estimates.
You have in front of you are the proposed millage rates.
So any changes there changes this. Very, very good point. I'm glad you
You can say
clarified.
that. It's not going to cause a whole lot of
Yeah.
discussion.
So I'm fine with that if you're good with adding it to the workshop that we already have scheduled, because we likely may have to have another one to see the final balanced budget. Prior to that, we were going to meet at 3:00 and do all of that on the 7th.
Doesn't have to be on a Monday. I mean, we've got some.
Well, that one actually is Thursday, I think.
Yeah,
the 7th,
Thursday.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
I think.
We did before.
Holiday
Yeah,
Monday.
we're already here.
So at 3,
Was it the
you said?
7th at 3.
The 7th, maybe 3 is what I would suggest, and then if we
Okay.
need anything before that, we'll communicate with you, and once we get you the balanced budget, we may need additional time, but we'll have between the 7th and the second reading, the 18th, to do any other meetings we have to have.
Well, we have a fire one at 12 on the 12th, right?
Yep. That'll be to finalize that piece of the
So it
puzzle.
might be we
So
could
Mike could do
tag
it
one-
at the same
yeah.
time as that,
Yeah.
if we need a
5:05
second one.
on the 12th.
We could do one earlier than that. And then
Yeah.
have a hearing at 5:05.
Yep.
Yes,
We
that
need
one's
to.
at 5:05. They're required, but if we do a workshop, I'd suggest it be like at 3.
Yeah, like we did today.
Like we did today. So that's fine with me.
That's all I had.
Otherwise, very good meetings, Mayor and Commission.
So just for clarity, the next meeting is 3 p.m. September 7th.
That's the next
Budget.
schedule.
At 3:00.
That'd be the workshop, and then the hearing is at 5:05, right?
On the 12th.
No,
On the
the
12th.
7th and the
too.
12th.
Yeah,
They're both.
yeah.
That's the first reading, if you will.
Okay.
And then, yes, 3:00, tentative millage budget hearing is at 5:05, and we could continue the workshop after that, and we'll add to it the CRA discussion.
And the 12th is at 5?
Let me look at that.
Yes.
Currently, and once you meet on the 7th, you may want to schedule it to have a budget workshop earlier, potentially at 3, and have the special assessment at 5:05. And then,
Ag. Luncheon.
I'm sorry, what?
The 8th.
Yeah, the 8th. And then the 18th is the final budget hearing and millage for action and the regular meeting, following the regular meeting or part of the regular meeting on the 18th at 5:00.
Clear as muddy water.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
We'll send you an updated list. I'll give them to you.
Okay, the only thing I have is kudos again to Sherry and her team. And if it takes, might upset a few people, if it takes getting rid of the chief's request for a new detective, if it takes getting rid of Lauren's request for the person she wanted, I think you requested someone. If we have to get rid of all those positions to get you help to do and to get you a person that's qualified, then so be it. That comes first. Okay, that shocked a few people maybe, but if there's things that have to be done and we can't get them done because we don't have the qualified personnel, then let's take all that money and put it over here and hire the qualified personnel. And let's get it done. But no, we're for you. That wouldn't help? Okay. I was gonna say, that was, let's see, I think that was 75,000 from him, and I think we could come up with, I'm not saying pay the person that, I'm just saying.
Message is
Okay, everybody.